Today we're gonna build a solar-powered workshop. I considered building this from scratch, but when I looked at how affordable and how quickly you could get one of these Tuff sheds installed, I decided to go with this prefabricated option. Their website is awesome and really easy to use. You can basically design your own shed, and they give you pricing information as you pick out different features and options. I selected a nice gray monochromatic shed about 10 feet by 12 feet in size. After checking local building code, I picked a spot in the yard and packed down the dirt before spreading about 2 inches of sand. I used my tamper to pack down the sand and then added about 3 inches of gravel over the sand. I used a long straight board and a level to check and make sure that the gravel was flat. The Tuff shed crew then showed up with all the pieces laid out on a flatbed trailer. It was really fun to watch these guys work. They had done this so many times that they were incredibly efficient. Just these 2 guys were able to set up the whole shed in about 3 hours. I'll post the detailed specs for all the options that I ordered on my website. Now, I definitely could have built this myself, but I don't think I would have saved that much money, and it probably would have taken me about a week. Not only did they construct a nice sturdy building, they also took the time to touch up all the paint and to clean up the construction site and leave it spotless. When the construction was finished, the foreman went over a detailed checklist with me to make sure that I had got all the features that I ordered. We started off the interior build-out by painting everything white. Me and my buddy Rod picked up one of these Wagner power sprayers along with a couple of really cool Tyvek jumpsuits. The power sprayer was a smart choice because we had so many interior edges and corners with all the exposed studs. We were able to paint the whole interior in just about 2 hours. So while the paint is drying, let's go over all the components that make up our solar electric system. We will be installing 4 100-watt solar panels or photovoltaic panels on the side that gets the most southern exposure. Those panels will produce the electricity but are just one of the parts of the overall system. The solar panels feed into a charge controller which will make sure that the batteries are charged in an optimal way. We added a fuse box to give us more options for disconnecting the systems in case we need to work on it. Our battery system is comprised of 4 6-volt sealed batteries. The electricity coming out of the batteries is direct current or DC. Now, if you want to plug in typical power tools that have cords, you're going to want alternating current or AC. An inverter is a device that converts direct current into alternating current. From the inverter, we can plug in a power strip, which will give us lots of different sockets to plug in both corded tools and our battery chargers for all our Ryobi tools. The 18-volt charger will power all of our handheld power tools, and the 40-volt charger will power our lawnmower and all the other outdoor lawn and garden tools. Even though this solar system is completely off the grid, we'll still have enough juice to power corded benchtop tools like bandsaws and drill presses. The majority of these components came in a single kit that we bought from Home Depot. And now on to the installation. I cut a 3/4 inch thick piece of plywood to make a wall panel that I can hang all of the interior components on. The largest and heaviest part of this solar electric system is the battery bank. My buddy Mike Montgomery from Modern Builds was in town and he helped me build out an enclosure for the batteries. Jason Andrade from West Coast Sustainables did all of our solar and electrical installs. One of the first things he did was to connect the fuse box to the charge controller. This adds an extra degree of safety. We mounted a charge controller and the fuse box to the plywood panel. Next, we added the inverter. Now that we know where the wires have to end up, we're ready to start installing the panels. The tricky part about installing solar panels is to make sure that you do it without creating a leak in your roof. The solar panels are going to be supported on rails. These rails will be connected to the roof at 8 separate points. Each one of these points needs a piece of flashing to make sure that no leaks are created when we screw through the roof and into the rafters below. These mounting points are secured to the rafters with lag screws that have bolt threads on the other end. We squirted some sealant into the holes in the flashing before driving the lag screws in. We then bolted on some specialty L brackets that will allow us to mount the rails. We need to drill a hole through the roof to run the wires from the solar panels to the charge controller. We located this hole under where one of the panels will be and then inserted the flashing. We drilled a pilot hole from the top down and then used the hole saw to drill through the roof from the underside. We were now ready to bend some 3/4 inch conduit to create the path to channel the wires down to the charge controller. We added a conduit body and then checked to make sure that the solar panel fit over it. We drove a copper-coated steel grounding rod into the dirt and then drilled a hole through the shed so that we could run a jacketed grounding wire through. We drilled holes through the battery enclosure so that we could run cables to the inverter and to the fuse box. We then connected the grounding wire to the fuse box. We were now ready to run the wires through the conduit. If you want to learn more about installing solar electrical systems, be sure to listen to my interview with Jason on my podcast. That's the Modern Maker Podcast, and I'll put a link to it in the description box below. If you have any questions about this solar-powered system or any of the components in it, ask them in the comment section below, and Jason has agreed to answer them. Photovoltaic panels are a solid-state technology and will last a long time. The vulnerable part of the system is the wiring, so it's really important to tuck them away so that you can't hang free and then abrade against the rough asphalt shingles. The railing system came with these bolts that slide on either side of the panels. When you screw them down, they have a large washer that clamps onto the aluminum rails of the solar panels. We secured the panels one at a time, making sure to keep the wires tucked up underneath them. After connecting all the wires and installing the last panel, we used a reciprocating saw to trim the rails and then plugged in the little end caps. I blew the dust off of all the panels, closed up all the electrical boxes, and was ready to test out our system. The inverter only has 2 plugs, and we're going to need a lot more than that, so I attached a power strip to it. This power strip will supply the 18-volt charger, the 40-volt charger, and any corded power tools that I want to run. We weren't sure if the inverter could handle running multiple benchtop tools at the same time, so we decided to test it out with a bandsaw and drill press. These are sealed batteries, so they're very low maintenance and they don't need to be refilled with water. So all we did was just close them up with an access panel. We now turn our focus to lighting. We started by screwing pieces of 2x4 in between the rafters so that we could install nice industrial looking pendant lights. All of the lighting for the workshop will be connected to a second power strip, which we will use as an on-off switch. The pendant lights are great for downlighting all the work surfaces, but I want the whole workshop to glow, so I want to add some uplighting as well. I used my compound miter saw to cut lengths of rain gutter so I can make some lighting codes. I used a coupling system to connect the pieces, pre-drilled holes in the back edge, and then installed them at the top of the walls. I drilled holes through the studs so that I could run wires through the LED lights that I want to place in the rain gutters. I then dropped in my lights and tested it out. Later I redistributed the lights so that it was a little bit more even. And now for shelving and storage. I checked out a lot of the different modular storage solutions before picking the Gladiator system. It's super strong and frankly I thought it looked the best. There are all sorts of hooks, bins, and shelves that can plug into it, and I like that it's heavy duty enough to even store my miter saw. I wanted a work surface that would run the full width of the workshop, so I glued and screwed 2 layers of 3/4 inch thick plywood together. I ripped some 2.5 inch wide strips of plywood to glue and screw to the front edge of the counter so it would have a nice thick front face. I sanded away all the excess glue with my belt sander. I finished the worktop with 4 coats of Rust-Oleum oil-based high-gloss paint. I used the smoothest finishing roller that I could find at Home Depot, and the results came out really nice and smooth. I got 2 of these rolling husky work chests to go underneath the countertop, pried off the little logos and spray painted them white. Then the logos popped back on. Shout out to Husky, they make pretty awesome stuff. I cut up some 2x4s and 2x6s to make supports for the countertop and to make shelves to store the tools. I gave these pieces a light sanding with my orbital sander before painting them all white. I screwed a 2x4 that I painted to the studs. This will support the back edge of the countertop. We checked to make sure that the countertop fit and would be nice and level before starting to screw in all the additional shelves. We added some vertical pieces of 2x4 to support the ledge and then screwed on some very large shelf brackets. Most of the shelves only need to be 3.5 inches deep, so 2x4s are fine. But for the ones on the left side, I screwed an additional 2x3 on top of the 2x4s to create a little more depth. I decided to store my ruler on the front edge of the countertop so that way I can use it to measure things even when it's in its storage position. I plan on using some stainless steel screws to hold the ruler in place, so I drilled some holes and countersunk them so that the screw head would sit flush inside. I then drilled a larger hole right beneath it that was connected to create sort of a keyhole that could slide the ruler on and off. Now the shed is about 10 to 12 inches off the ground, so I made a ramp using these really cool hardware pieces that just fit right onto the ends of 2x8s. It's always nice to have a little bit of music while you're working, so I added a set of these Ryobi 18-volt wireless speakers. You just plug in the same batteries that work for the power tools, and you have 24 hours of wireless music connected to your smartphone. I love how clean and open this workspace feels. The Husky tool chests provide plenty of storage and can become workstations for the bandsaw or drill press. Now I built this shop for my sister Jessie to be her new headquarters for all of her builds. And she's a bit on the short side, so I found this really cool old library step stool, painted it, and then added a first aid kit right underneath it. Although now that I see how nice and organized this place is, I'm feeling a little bit jealous. We used the Gladiator slat wall to store all of the big yard tools that are powered by the 40-volt batteries. Even this Ryobi electric lawnmower folds up nice and can store against the wall. I added an Everbuilt tool storage rack on the outside. This will hold all the dirty hand tools like shovels and rakes. Even though this workshop is only 10 feet by 12 feet, it feels really large, light, and airy. The parallel double doors let in plenty of light and air. The rolling Husky tool chest can be moved to the center of the space to create a handy work island. And the solar electrical system provides renewable energy to both battery-powered and corded tools. Thanks for watching our largest project to date. This solar workshop took about 5 times longer to produce than our typical project. So if you want to see more large-scale projects like this, help us out. Click on the thumbs up, leave a comment, or more importantly, share this video. My goal all along has been to demonstrate how to build an affordable house from scratch. Now we're getting closer and closer, and with your help, I know we can do it. For more detailed instructions, check out our website. And if you want to see what I'm working on next, be sure to follow me on Instagram. Check out some of our other videos, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Thanks. Bye.